Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where everybody wants love. We chase it, we pray for it. We tell ourselves if we could just get enough love, everything else would fall into place. And I get that, I've been there. But let me tell you something that most people won't. Pain made me stronger than love ever did. Love is beautiful, no doubt. Love holds your hand, it comforts you on the stormy nights. But pain is different. Pain doesn't hold your hand. Pain doesn't whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Pain doesn't tuck you in at night and tell you it's going to be okay. No, pain wakes you up. Pain throws cold water on your face. Pain says, get up. You've got work to do. When I was at my lowest, when the door slammed in my face, when I felt like I wasn't enough, when the people I thought would stay walked away, that's when pain stepped in. And it didn't feel good. It didn't sound like a love song. But it taught me. It taught me how to stand on my own. It taught me that I was built for more than comfort. It taught me that strength isn't born in the easy places, it's born in the fire. You see, love will tell you what you want to hear. Pain tells you what you need to know. Pain strips away the lies. Pain shows you who you really are when nobody is watching. When it's just you, the darkness, and a decision to make. Do I stay down or do I get back up? I chose to get back up, again and again. And every time I got back up, I got stronger. Not because love lifted me, but because pain demanded I lift myself. Don't get me wrong, love is powerful. Love gives you hope. But pain gives you power. Pain puts steel in your spine. Pain gives you a voice when the world tries to silence you. Pain gives you a reason when you thought you had none left. And when you walk through pain and you make it to the other side, you're not the same. You're not soft, you're not afraid. You're a warrior. Every scar I have, every tear I've cried, every sleepless night, it built me. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see weakness, I see survival. I see strength. I see someone who's still standing. So, if you're in pain right now, if you feel broken, if life has knocked the wind out of you, good. That's your moment. That's your fight. That's your fire. And when you make it through, you'll realize exactly what I did. Pain is the greatest teacher because it doesn't just speak to you, it demands your attention. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care if you feel prepared or strong enough to handle it. It walks into your life uninvited and takes a seat right at the head of your table. Pain teaches in a way no one else can. It doesn't ask questions, it gives answers. And sometimes those answers are hard to swallow. You don't get to negotiate the terms of the lesson. You just have to sit there, take it in, and find out who you really are when you're stripped down to the raw, unfiltered version of yourself. Because that's what pain does. It strips everything away. The ego, the excuses, the comfort, it's all gone. And what's left is the truth. You don't learn who you are in the good times. You don't find your strength when everything is going your way. When you're surrounded by love and support and people are clapping for you, it's easy to believe in yourself. It's easy to think you've got it all figured out. But when the applause stops, when the people disappear, and you're sitting in silence with nothing but your own thoughts, that's when the real learning begins. Pain is a mirror. It shows you every crack you've been trying to hide. It shows you every insecurity you've tried to bury, and it makes you deal with it. It makes you look at yourself in ways you never wanted to. But that's where the growth is. The lessons pain teaches you aren't wrapped in kindness. They don't come with an instruction manual. There's no guidebook that tells you how to survive heartbreak, loss, failure, betrayal. You figure it out in the moment. You figure it out when you're crying in the middle of the night, wondering if you're ever going to feel whole again. You figure it out when you get up the next morning and put one foot in front of the other, even though you don't know where. And every time you move forward, no matter how small the step, you learn something new about yourself. You learn how to carry the weight. You learn how to breathe through the hurt. You learn that you are so much stronger than you thought you were. Pain doesn't just teach you about yourself though, it teaches you about the world. It teaches you who's really in your corner and who was just there for the good times. It teaches you that some people will only love you when you're easy to love, when you're shining and successful in making them feel good. But when you're broken, when you're difficult, when you've got nothing to give, And in that process, you learn the value of authenticity. You learn the value of loyalty. You learn that you don't need a crowd. You need a few good people who will walk through the fire with you. One of the hardest lessons pain teaches is patience. Because when you're in the middle of it, you want it to be over. You want the hurt to stop. You want answers. You want closure. But pain doesn't work on your timeline. It doesn't leave just because you're tired of feeling it. You have to sit with it. You have to live through it. And in that waiting, in that stillness, you develop endurance. You learn how to be okay with not having control. You learn how to surrender to the process. And that's not weakness. That's strength. Real strength isn't about forcing things to happen. It's about being able to stand firm when nothing is happening. It's about trusting that even though it hurts right now, you're still moving forward in ways you can't even see yet. Pain makes you humble. It reminds you that life isn't guaranteed, that everything you love, everything you've worked for can change in an instant. And that knowledge makes you grateful. When you come out on the other side of pain, you appreciate the little things. A quiet morning, a kind word, the sound of laughter. You don't take anything for granted because you've seen how quickly it can all be taken away. That kind of gratitude doesn't come from love alone. It comes from losing, from hurting, from knowing what it's like to live without. And if you let it, pain will make you kinder. When you've been through it, you look at other people differently. You realize that everyone's carrying something. Everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. And instead of judging, you start to offer grace. You stop needing people to be perfect. You just need them to be real. And you show up for them in ways you wish someone had shown up for you. Pain opens your heart in ways love can't always reach. Because it's in your brokenness that you become soft, not weak, but soft, compassionate, understanding. Pain is the greatest teacher because it doesn't just teach you how to survive, it teaches you how to live. It teaches you to stop wasting time on things that don't matter. It teaches you to stop pretending. It teaches you to get real about what you want, who you are, and what you're willing to fight for. Listen to who you are is good enough. It serves you to constrain your perceptions when you listen, really listen, you come out stronger, wiser, and more alive than you ever were before. Comfort can make you complacent because it convinces you that where you are is good enough. It whispers in your ear that there's no need to push harder, no need to take risks, no need to step out into the unknown. It wraps you up in its soft, warm arms and tells you to stay a while. And that while can turn into days, months, years. Before you know it, you've settled, you've stopped growing, you've stopped reaching, you've stopped dreaming about what's possible because you're too busy enjoying what's easy. Comfort is tricky like that. It doesn't come with flashing warning signs or loud alarms. It shows up quietly, often looking like peace, and it slowly makes you forget what you're capable of becoming. When everything is easy, when life is smooth, it's natural to let your guard down. It's human to want to stay in that place where there's no resistance, no struggle. But nothing great ever comes from a place of ease. Growth doesn't happen when you're coasting. Strength isn't built when you're relaxed. You don't find out who you really are when you're comfortable. You find out when you're tested, when you're stretched, when you're forced to go beyond what you thought you could handle. Comfort makes you soft because it removes the need to fight. And without the fight, without the push, you lose your edge. A lot of people think the goal in life is to get to a place where you don't have to struggle anymore, to make enough money, to have enough success, to build enough security that you can finally relax. And yes, there's nothing wrong with wanting a stable, peaceful life. But if you're not careful, that desire for comfort can become a trap. You get too comfortable and you start making decisions based on what's safe instead of what's right. You stay in jobs you've outgrown. You stay in relationships that don't inspire you. You keep habits that aren't helping you become better. Why? Because it's easier, because it's familiar, because you don't want to deal with the uncertainty of starting over or trying something new. Comfort breeds routine, and routine isn't always bad. Discipline and consistency are necessary. But when routine turns into a rut, when you're doing the same thing over and over without thinking, without growing, without challenging yourself, that's when comfort has turned into complacency. You start living on autopilot. You stop asking hard questions, you stop taking bold steps, and eventually you stop dreaming altogether. You convince yourself that where you are is the best it's going to get, not because it is, but because you've stopped believing in what's possible. The danger of comfort is that it can blind you to your potential. It makes you forget the hunger that got you where you are in the first place. When you were struggling, when you had something to prove, when you were chasing a vision, there was a fire inside you. You were willing to work late nights, to take the rejection, to push past the doubt, because you wanted something more. But when you start to feel comfortable, that fire dims. You tell yourself you've done enough. You tell yourself you can relax now. And maybe you can, for a little while, but stay there too long and you lose the very thing that made you successful to begin with. Comfort is also dangerous because it makes you underestimate time. You think you have forever. You think you can chase that dream later. Start that business later. Write that book later. Tell that person how you feel later. And then one day you look up and all that time you thought you had is gone. Comfort makes you believe you can wait, but life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Your potential won't wait, and if you spend too much time being comfortable, you'll miss your moment. You'll miss your chance to become the person you were meant to be because you were too busy being who you were comfortable being. And the truth is, comfort doesn't protect you. It makes you vulnerable in a different way. When you get too comfortable, you're not prepared for life's challenges. You're not ready for the unexpected. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, and if you've been sitting still for too long, you won't have the strength, the resilience, or the mindset to handle them. Comfort makes you rusty. It makes you slow to react. It makes you fragile. But when you stay uncomfortable, when you keep pushing, keep learning, keep stretching, you stay ready, you stay sharp, you stay strong. Comfort makes you focus on maintaining what you have instead of building something new. You start playing defense instead of offense. You start protecting instead of creating. And while you're busy holding on to what's easy, you're missing out on the challenge that could take you to the next level. Complacency is sneaky. It feels like peace. It feels like you're finally in control. But real peace, real fulfillment, doesn't come from standing still. It comes from knowing you're growing, from knowing you're becoming better every day. It comes from knowing you're not settling for less than what you're capable of. If you want to live a life of purpose, a life of meaning, a life that leaves an impact, you have to be willing to give up comfort. You have to choose challenge over ease, growth over safety, potential over security. Because comfort might feel good in the moment, but it can cost you everything if you stay there too long. Pain strips away the illusion because it forces you to see life for what it really is, not what you wanted it to be. It tears down the walls you built to protect yourself, the stories you told yourself to feel safe, and the masks you wore to make life seem easier than it really is. Pain doesn't leave room for pretending. It exposes everything you've been trying to hide, everything you thought you had under control. In the middle of pain, there's no more faking it. There's no more convincing yourself that everything is fine when it's not. Pain demands honesty, and not just with the world, but with yourself. Most people walk through life wrapped in illusions. We tell ourselves stories to make things easier to accept. We tell ourselves that we're okay when we're not. We convince ourselves that the job we hate is good enough, that the relationship that drains us is normal, that the dreams we've abandoned weren't meant to be. We numb ourselves with distractions, entertainment, comfort, routine, just to avoid facing the truth. But when pain shows up, it doesn't let you hide behind those stories anymore. It rips away everything you've built to shield yourself from reality. It makes you see things clearly, often for the first time. Pain doesn't negotiate. It doesn't give you time to adjust. It doesn't care if you're ready. When it hits, it strips your life down to what's real. And that's a hard thing to face. It's hard to admit you've been lying to yourself. It's hard to see the things you've avoided because they were too painful to deal with. But that's what makes pain such a powerful teacher. It brings the truth to the surface. It shows you what's solid and what's not, who's real and who's not, what matters and what doesn't. When you go through pain, you realize how much of your life was spent worrying about things that didn't matter. You see how much energy you gave to people who didn't care, how much time you wasted chasing things that were empty. Pain strips away the illusion that you have forever, that you can keep living on autopilot, that you can keep putting off the things that are truly important. It forces you to focus on what's real, because when you're hurting, there's no room for anything else. The noise falls away, the distractions disappear. What's left is the truth. And the truth isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's harsh. Pain shows you where you're weak. It shows you where you've been complacent. It exposes your insecurities, your fears, your doubts. But in that exposure, there's a gift. Because once you see it, once you face it, you can do something about it. You can stop pretending, you can stop running, you can finally start building something real, something strong enough to last. Pain also strips away the illusion of control. We all like to believe we're in control of our lives. We make plans, we set goals, we check things off our lists. And then pain comes along and reminds us how fragile it all is, how quickly things can change, how little control we really have. And that's a terrifying feeling. But it's also liberating, because once you accept that you're not in control of everything, you stop wasting energy trying to be. You start focusing on what you can control, your attitude, your effort, your choices in the middle of the storm. There's something raw and honest about pain that can't be found in comfort. When you're hurting, you get to know yourself in a deeper way. You find out what you really believe. You find out what really matters to you. Pain strips away the illusions about who you are. It cuts through the version of yourself you show to the world and introduces you to the person underneath. And sometimes you don't like what you see at first. But that's okay. Because once you see yourself clearly, you can start becoming who you're meant to be. Pain doesn't just strip away your illusions about yourself, it strips away your illusions about other people too. When you're at your lowest, you find out who's really in your corner. You find out who's there because they love you and who was there because they needed something from you. Pain clarifies your relationships. It shows you who you can count on. It shows you who deserves a place in your life. And it gives you permission to let go of the rest. There's freedom in losing the illusion. When pain rips everything away, you're left with a clean slate. You're left with the chance to rebuild your life on something real. You no longer have to pretend. You no longer have to carry the weight of maintaining a life that doesn't fit you anymore. Pain gives you the truth, and the truth sets you free. The process isn't easy. Facing reality, facing yourself, facing the rawness of life without the buffer of illusion, that takes courage. But it's worth it, because what comes out of that process is strength. What comes out of it is clarity. What comes out of it is the kind of life you can stand on, the kind of life you can trust because it's real and it's yours. Pain strips away the illusion, but it leaves you with something better, the truth, and the chance to live it fully. Resilience is born in the struggle because there's no other way to develop it. You don't become resilient by living a life without resistance. You don't find your strength in moments of comfort or ease. You find it in the dark places, the hard places, the moments when you're not sure if you can take another step, but you do it anyway. Resilience is not something you are born with. It's something you earn, forged in the fire of life's challenges, struggles, and losses. Every time you face something that tries to break you and you refuse to let it, a new layer of resilience is built. It's in those times when the weight is heavy, when the path is unclear, and when quitting looks easier than going on, that's where resilience is born. Struggle tests you in ways nothing else can. It doesn't just push you physically or mentally, it pushes your spirit. It makes you question your worth, your ability, your future, and in that questioning, something happens. You dig deeper. You reach into places inside yourself you didn't even know existed. You discover there's a well of strength buried deep inside you that only hardship can uncover. That strength isn't found on the sunny days when everything is going right. It's found when you're standing in the storm, soaked, cold, and exhausted, but still refusing to be moved. No one develops resilience without struggle, because resilience is the product of surviving the things you thought you couldn't survive. It's not about never falling, it's about falling 1,000 times and getting back up 1,001. Every setback, every failure, every heartbreak, every betrayal, they are the training ground for your resilience. You may not see it in the moment. In the middle of the fight, it just feels like pain. It just feels like loss. But something is happening underneath the surface. You are growing tougher. You are learning how to endure. You are learning how to adapt. You are learning how to keep your hope alive even when everything around you seems to say it's pointless. Struggle introduces you to the real you. It removes the surface level confidence, the shallow belief that everything will always go your way. It makes you get honest about who you are when life is unfair, when the odds are stacked against you, and when the finish line seems impossibly far away. And that's when resilience shows up. Resilience is what keeps you moving when motivation is gone. It's what whispers, try again, when your mind is screaming, give up. It's what helps you find a way when every door has been slammed shut. That's not something you learn from a book. That's something you learn from living through the struggle. Resilience isn't about denying the struggle or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about accepting the pain, feeling it, and still choosing to rise. Struggle teaches you how to bend without breaking. It shows you how to stand back up after you've been knocked flat. Every time life tests you, every time you're stretched beyond your comfort zone, your capacity to endure expands. What once seemed impossible becomes possible. What once would have crushed you, you now carry with a quiet strength. That's what resilience looks like. Not loud, not always pretty, but strong in a way that's unshakable. The struggle also teaches you patience. Real resilience understands that things won't always happen overnight. Sometimes it takes months, years, even decades to see the fruit of your effort. Struggle teaches you to stay the course, to hold on, even when the finish line isn't in sight. It builds in you a determination that doesn't depend on external rewards, but is rooted in who you are and what you believe in. Resilient people have learned to weather the seasons where it feels like nothing is happening because they trust that their struggle has purpose. They understand that growth happens in silence, in obscurity, long before it shows up in the spotlight. Every story of triumph has chapters filled with struggle. You can't separate the two. The strength, the courage, the wisdom people admire in those who've made it, those qualities were born in the times they were at their lowest. Resilience is not an accident. It's the result of a decision, repeated over and over, to keep showing up no matter what. It's the result of pushing through fear, doubt, exhaustion, and heartache. Struggle makes you real. It gives you empathy because you've known what it's like to be at rock bottom. It gives you perspective because you've lived through loss and failure. And it gives you power because you've learned you can survive anything. People who have never struggled often live in fear of the struggle. They avoid risk, they avoid challenge because they're afraid of what might happen if they fail. But those who have struggled and come out stronger on the other side know the truth. They know that even when you fall, you can get back up. Even when you lose, you can start again. Struggle builds resilience, and resilience gives you the freedom to live without fear. You stop playing small. You stop holding back. You trust yourself to handle whatever comes next, because you've already proven you can. Resilience is not built in the easy times. It's born in the struggle, in the moments when life tests your limits and dares you to keep going anyway. It's forged in the fires of hardship, failure, and pain. But once you've built it, it becomes a part of you. It's the strength that carries you through every future battle. It's the courage that reminds you of what you've already overcome. And it's the quiet, steady force that pushes you forward no matter what lies ahead. Pain leaves scars that tell stories. Stories of battles fought, lessons learned, and strength found in the most unlikely places. Scars are not a sign of weakness. They are a testament to survival. They are the living proof that you went through something that was meant to break you, but you didn't let it. You made it through. You stood back up. You kept going. Every scar, whether physical or emotional, carries with it a history of struggle and a reminder that you endured. People may not see it when they look at you, but you know it's there. You know what it took to survive. You know what it cost, and you know the person you became because of it. Pain doesn't leave you untouched. It marks you, it changes you, but it also shapes you into someone who understands life in a deeper, more meaningful way. Scars tell stories about moments when you were tested, when you thought you couldn't handle any more, but somehow you did. They tell stories about the nights you spent fighting battles nobody else could see. They tell stories about the tears you cried in silence, the strength you found when nobody was watching, and the courage you built when quitting would have been easier. Those stories matter, even if nobody else knows them. They are chapters in the book of your life that reveal the truth of who you are. People often try to hide their scars. They're embarrassed by them as if there's something to be ashamed of. But scars don't mean you failed. They don't mean you're broken. They mean you healed. They mean the wound closed. They mean you recovered, even if the process was long and painful. Scars are a sign that something tried to defeat you and didn't succeed. They are your trophies, your medals of honor from battles fought in the trenches of life. You wear them not because you want to show off, but because they are a part of your story. A story that can inspire others who are still in their fight. Every scar has a voice, and sometimes it speaks to others in ways you don't expect. People who are going through their own pain often look for signs that healing is possible. They need to know that someone else made it through. When they see your scars, whether you show them openly or through the quiet strength of your presence, they know it's possible to survive. Your scars become a light for someone else's darkness. They become a map that says, I've been where you are. Keep going. Pain doesn't just leave scars on the body, it leaves scars on the heart and mind. Emotional wounds can be just as deep, if not deeper, than physical ones. But those invisible scars tell stories too. Stories about how you learned to trust again after betrayal, how you found hope again after despair, how you rediscovered your worth after someone made you feel like you had none. These stories are powerful because they reveal a strength that runs deeper than appearances. They reveal the work you did in silence, the work of healing, forgiving, letting go, and rising again. There is beauty in scars when you choose to see them, not as reminders of pain, but as symbols of healing. They remind you of where you've been, but they also show you how far you've come. You may not be the same person you were before the pain. You may be wiser, more cautious, maybe even a little harder in some ways, but you're also stronger. You've seen the worst and decided to keep moving forward. That decision changes you. It gives you a kind of power that can't be taught in comfort. It can only be earned in the middle of pain. Pain leaves scars that speak to your endurance. They tell stories of resilience. Stories of how you didn't let life's hardest moments define you. Yes, they marked you, but they didn't destroy you. They became part of the foundation you stand on today. Every time you thought it was over, every time you thought you couldn't handle anymore, you found a way. And those scars, they are reminders of that strength. They are part of the fabric of who you are. Scars also teach you compassion. When you've felt deep pain, you can recognize it in others. You don't rush to judge people because you understand everyone has their own battle, their own wounds they're carrying. Your own scars give you the ability to offer empathy, patience, and kindness. You can sit with someone in their pain without needing to fix it because you understand how much it means to simply be understood. Pain connects people. Scars build bridges between hearts that know suffering and healing. Sometimes the stories your scars tell are only for you. They remind you of what you've survived when you're facing something new that feels impossible. They say, you've done hard things before. You can do this too. They are your personal history of battles won and mountains climbed. They give you confidence because they carry proof of your courage. The world often celebrates the highlight reels, the victories, the achievements. But behind every success is a story of pain and scars. Those who have reached the top often did so with wounds they had to fight through. They know the price. They know the journey, and they know it was worth it. Your scars are not something to hide. They are something to honor. They are part of the truth that makes you who you are. Pain left marks on you, but it also left wisdom, strength, and a story that deserves to be told. Thank you.